We are going to get started here shortly. We appreciate everybody taking the time to come out tonight. This is a very important thing that you're taking part in, and we're glad to see as many of you come out. We're hoping much more listening on the radio tonight, as this is being broadcast live on 1240 WSDR. So we appreciate the support of the radio station as well as the Sauk Valley newspaper. This is being taped tonight and will be on their website to view later as well. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our moderator for the evening, who will be a board member of the Chambers, John Gavacek, with Frank's Manufacturing, and John will introduce the candidates for the evening and get us started.
Members of the audience, thank you for coming and attending tonight, and thank you to the candidates for attending tonight. Each of the candidates, I'm the moderator, and I'm going to go over the rules for the forum that we're going to have tonight. Each of the candidates here tonight will be given 3 minutes for an opening statement. Rick Turnroth, member of our Chamber Board of Directors, will serve as the timekeeper for the event and will signal when the candidate's time is up. After opening statements, candidates will be asked to respond to questions from myself, which have been previously submitted to the Chamber by members of the public, as well as questions from students from Sterling High School. And we're fortunate tonight to have 4 Sterling High School students here to ask questions. We are glad that they're interested in local government. We'll also field questions from the audience, and we'll do this in an order. There will be a microphone up here, and I will repeat the question that's asked so that the members of the radio listening audience can hear it. The candidate or candidates will come forward to respond to the question. And please note that all responses will be limited to 1.5 minutes. The moderator will alternate between questions that have been submitted, questions from the students, and questions from the floor. And we'll begin tonight with opening statements from the candidates, which will be introduced in the order of the office they are running for. In opposed races, the candidates will be introduced in either the order that they filed or with the incumbent first. So let us begin with the candidates running for mayor with opening statements. And we'll start with our first candidate, Alderman Skip Lee, who is running for mayor.
We need to elect a mayor who has the vision, time, and experience to move this community forward. You know, we've had great mayors like Jim Swanson, Ted Egan, and Amy Very, and I believe I am that person to continue the tradition, and I want to ask you for your support on the 5th of April. Of course, why should you choose Skip Lee to be your mayor? Well, to begin with, I have experience in city government. I've been on the library board, I've been on the city council. I understand the governance process, both its positives and its negatives. I've learned how to set priorities, help look for resources, learn to communicate, and learn to work through challenges that we faced. My whole adult life has been about service, whether it's in the school, the city, my church, or my service academy work. What really matters to me is making my area better than where I came to it. I've learned the importance of good listening skills, teamwork, and responding to the concerns of my constituents. I'm getting better at seeing the details as well as the big picture. But for me, the vision for the future is simple to say but complex to attain. Sterling needs to be the town to come home to. We have many people who leave Sterling to go other places, but we need to create the opportunities and the possibilities for them to come back and bring those ideas. We need the financial house to be in order so that we have the stability in city government. We need our infrastructure to continue to be improved so that the roads and the sewers and the signage are all useful. Quality of life issues are very important. Our protective services are critical to the future of the city. We need the restaurants, parks, schools,
30 seconds.
Okay, and the workforce. So in closing, I believe I am the best candidate for mayor in this race. I ask for your support. Thank you very much.
I stand before you tonight thanking each and every one of you for, like Skip said, taking time out of your busy schedule to show up and to, get involved in what the city's got to offer. I believe I make an excellent mayor for the city of Sterling, because I grew up in this town. I know what this town has had to offer in the past. I know what it has for the future. And I understand what Skip was saying about a lot of the services and, you know, the different things that the city has to offer. I know that there are directions that the city's traveling that may not agree with everybody, and we can always address those at a later date if I'm elected. And if not, I'm sure that if you bring it up with Skip, he'll listen to you and take your comments and your suggestions and stuff. But my biggest thing is I just want to like continue the same thing that we've had over the last 40, 50 years since I've lived here, is the direction that Sterling's traveling, you know, to be the city that, like Skip said, we all want to come home to. It's someplace that 20 years in the Navy, I left in 1975, joined the Navy, traveled the world, but I was always happy to come home. You know, always happy to come back to Sterling. There was always, you know, jobs here. Education was, you know, a great place to be for schools, park district, all the services that are provided. But it's like, I do not have the experience that Skip has on city council, library board, but all I can say is, you know, I'm somebody who's intelligent, I have common sense, and hardworking. Integrity means a lot to me, and transparency in government is, I think, something that we need to restore. We've got it, you know, we have great people working for us right now, and it's like all we can do is get better. Thank you. I'm not going to, you know, stand up here and keep talking. I'll open the floor to somebody else.
Next, we'll go through the wards, and we'll start with Ward 1, Alderman Retha Elston.
Hello, I'm Retha Elston, your Ward 1 Alderman for Sterling. I would like to thank you for allowing me to serve the community for the past 4.5 years, and look forward to another 4 years. It has been I love being involved in the community by serving you as an alderman, volunteering for the Sterling School District, scouting projects, service projects, and Eagle projects, and through my church with the children's preschool and kindergarten class on Wednesday nights. I believe in giving back to my community that has given so much to my family. I was looking over my notes from 4 years ago when I was preparing my speech for my last Meet the Candidate night. All I can say is, wow, what an interesting 4 years it has been. From the new trash hauling and recycling program to the yearly city-wide cleanup day, from the new administrative hearing program to the neighborhood stabilization program grant, from the street maintenance program to resurface and add curbs and gutters a city block at a time, to resurfacing Lynn Boulevard and Freeport Road. This would not have been possible without the hard work and dedication to the city by Mayor Amy Vering, City Manager Scott Schumart, all your City of Sterling employees, and your City Council. We had to make many hard decisions and sacrifices to have a balanced budget with the economy the way it was and continues to be. There were many painful cuts. City employees had furlough days and at many times just went without. But your city employees have stepped up to minimize the effects to the community on the services they provide. I am proud of how all the city staff responded and pulled together. Your dedication to your jobs and to the citizens of Sterling has not gone unnoticed. These groups work together to be proactive in reining in costs during the economic downturn the last few years. Look at our neighbors in the area or some of the larger cities that waited until it was too late. They are now making drastic cuts, cutting city services and pushing their obligations out, or even borrowing money to keep operating. The city of Sterling has been able to maintain services, meet its obligations, and continue to redevelop the old Northwestern Steel and Wire land and bring in major retail opportunities like the new Menard, Kohl's, PetSmart, and Buffalo Wild Wings, just to name a few. While others are contracting or going backwards, we are moving forward and trying to stretch your tax dollars as far as possible. Like I said earlier, wow, none of this could have been accomplished without the amazing people you employ through the city. We have awesome employees who give 110% and care for Sterling and her citizens. They have innovative ideas and the drive to get them implemented. Thanks for letting me be a part of this quality team, and thank you.
Alderman Barry Cox.
Good evening. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to come out, and those of you at home listening, I appreciate you taking the time to listen. I'm Barry Cox. I've served on the council come May 20 years. And I guess the biggest thing I can say is I'm cheap. And I handle your checkbook for the city the same way I handle the checkbook at home. And I am very thorough. I want the people to know if they've got a problem, I'm there to help solve that problem, help them find a way to solve the problem. Short of that, I like to think that I'm the people's alderman. My door is always open, my telephone's always open, and when I'm not walking, I'm always willing to take a conversation. So short of that, that's about all I have to say.
We have two candidates, and first we'll hear from the incumbent, Alderman Joe Martin.
Good evening. I'm Joseph Martin, the current 4th Ward Alderman. I have had the privilege and honor of serving the people of the 4th Ward for the last 16 years. I mean that sincerely. It truly has been an honor and a privilege. Over the past 16 years, I've had the pleasure of serving with many different alderpersons on the council. I have taken an active role in leadership on the council, having served as vice mayor for 6 of the 16 years, including the last 4 under Mayor Vera. Through my years on the council, I have served with many good people. Together with my professionalism and my ability to consensus build with the variety of personalities I have served with, we have reached very tough decisions we have had to make over the last 16 years. I have been fiscally responsible, attempting to keep people's taxes and fees low while trying to provide quality service to our citizens who deserve and should expect it. I would like to thank all of our over 100 city employees, including my opponent, for their dedication and financial sacrifices they have endured, especially over the last couple of tough budget years, while still providing the quality service to our citizens. In the last 16 years, I've seen many highs and lows, but through it all, I'm still standing, and so is the city of Sterling. The last one in town has not turned out the lights and the sidewalks haven't rolled up. Sterling is still perking along, maybe not at full speed, but I am very optimistic about the city's future. I am running again because I want to be part of the leadership as Sterling tackles some new and exciting times ahead. Just one example is the Riverfront Development Project. I would like to close with a little personal information. I'm 56 years old. When I first was elected, I had a lot more hair and it was a lot darker. I hazarded the position, I guess. I am a member of St. Mary's Catholic Church. I have been an active member for 20 years of the Sterling Optimist Club, where I currently serve on the board of directors as the fundraising director. I was awarded the Optimist of the Year award by my fellow members in 2010, and I've taken an active leadership role in the club, having served as president twice. I am happily married to Dr. Mary Martin, a clinical audiologist at the Sterling Rock Falls Clinic for 29 years. Originally from Peoria, this marks half of my life being spent in Sterling. Hopefully, through my service on the council and my other volunteerism activities, I have given as much back as I have received living in this great community. I would like to thank the Sauk Valley Area Chamber of Commerce for having this forum to provide the voters an opportunity to get to know the candidates and what we will each bring to the council table if elected. Someone once said, "To know where you are going, you have to know where you have been and how you got there." I humbly ask the voters of the 4th Ward to put my 16 years of experience back to work to them for another 4 years by honoring me with their vote on Tuesday, April 5th. Thank you.
Jim Ellenbaugh.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out, especially the high school students. How exciting you get to see government in action. My name is James Ellenbaugh. I'm 48. Live at 1803 Oak Grove Avenue. I'm a family man, married to my wife Lori of 16 years. I have 4 children, one still at home. I've been nearly a lifelong resident of Sterling. I did come back to Sterling, as Alderman Skip Lee mentioned in his statement. I lived 1 year in California, and quite frankly, that was enough. I lived on the freeways. Sterling is a great town to live in. I work for the city of Sterling. I've been fortunate to have been employed as a firefighter since 1993. I'll have 18 years on in June. I'm making no secret, I would like to retire with 20 years. I thought this would be an excellent time to run for Alderman, 4th Ward. I really don't have a lot else to say other than I want to give back more to the city of Sterling. It's been my home nearly all my life. I think it's a great place to live. I would like to be a part of the future. And thank you.
And now we'll proceed with the questions part of the forum. As I mentioned earlier, I will ask, the questions will alternate between questions that I will ask, which have been submitted to the chamber. We will then go to questions from the students from, a question from the student from Sterling High School, and then we will ask the audience if there are any questions from the floor. If you do have a question, in order to expedite things, if anyone from the floor has a question, I would ask while the student is, while we're responding to the student's question, that you would come forward so that we could conserve some of our time. And the candidates will have 90 seconds to respond, a minute and a half. So the first question is for all the candidates. What do you see as the city's biggest problem? And we'll do it in the same order that we did before. And we'll start with Skip Lee.
Thank you very much.
And if you would please, each of you come forward so that our radio audience can hear.
Thank you. The biggest problem we have in Sterling is no secret. It's the balance between keeping our financial house in order and yet providing the services that we've provided over the years that our citizens have come to expect. We've been able to do that because our city staff, headed by Scott Schumart, has been very diligent in working with the department chairs to keep budgets in line. We've had to make cuts, we've made sacrifices. The economy is turning around, but that's going to be, in my mind, the biggest problem we face in the immediate future. Thank you.
Most of what Skip said, I think some of our, the people in our financial offices have squeezed the nickel so hard that I don't think they can get any more change out of it. We're trying to do as much as we possibly can with with not quite as much money as we used to have. And the cities, they're, like Skip said, every day they're doing is, they're trying to give you 110% with 100% funding. And I think one of the biggest problems we face right now is the lack of employment opportunities in the city. Because without those, I think we don't get the return back that we need.
Retha Elston.
Well, I think I got to mirror those two too. Would be balancing the budget and keep on doing what we're doing. We've cut so much. I don't think there's much more to cut, and I'm hoping the economy starts to pick up. So we will still continue to be very on the budget, but I'm hoping the economy starts to pick up soon because it has been a tough 3 years for Sterling. And thank you.
Barry Cox.
One of the biggest things I see is, of course, the jobs development, the retention of youth that graduate and leave the community. And we need to have a better workforce to offer the people that are looking to come to the area. Of course, the Walmart Distribution Center came to the area, and the workforce was not all that great to their needs. And We need to work as a community and hopefully put out a better workforce, and that workforce will bring development to our area.
Joe Martin.
I think the biggest problem we face is that we're located in Illinois right now. But other than that, speaking to all the voters that are listening as well as the ones here, when you make decisions about your president and your state representatives, look at what they actually say, because everything rolls downhill. And we're in a situation right now where the clamp is on at the local level to where we're not getting the funding from the state, we're not receiving the federal funds we used to, and trying to create new sources of revenue other than property taxes and putting the burden on property owners is only avenue that we have been left with. And that's not a real answer, I think, to anyone on the council or anyone running for the council. So I ask you to be educated, concerned citizens, both at the national level and the state level, to try to find candidates that have the answers, that realize the problems that they're bringing, that is coming and crashing at the local level. Thank you.
Jim Allenbaugh.
Yesterday I heard it called the Great Recession. That's troubling. But enough doom and gloom. We all know we need money. But also I think Sterling needs to be poised when this economy does turn around. You know, we need to be there with a workforce that can fill those jobs, retention of our youth. I feel that is the biggest challenge, is meeting the future.
Okay, next we will have a question from one of the students from Sterling High School. If you'll come up, there's a microphone up here. You'll take the microphone and, okay, come right ahead. Why don't you come up to the microphone? State your name and
My name is Andrew Manzano. I'm a senior at Sterling High School, and my question for the mayoral candidate is, why do you feel you're qualified for this position, and why is it important for you to be involved in local government?
To begin with, I feel I'm qualified, firstly because of the experience I've had. I've had the pleasure and honor of serving on the library board, serving on the council. I talk to people constantly about issues that are going on in the city. I think I have a good feeling for where people in Sterling are, both those who agree with me and those who don't. I have the time, I have the energy, and I have the passion to lead the city of Sterling. So from that standpoint, I think I am qualified. Why do I want this job? To me, I had a coach when I was in grade school who said, you never leave a place without it being better than when you came in. That's been my goal and my philosophy for 40-some years. I want to make Sterling a better place than when I came here 39 years ago. Thank you.
that was Skip Lee, and next, Mark Batling.
I think the biggest reason, as far as like qualifications, they're simple, exactly what the city clerk hands out when you file your paperwork to become mayor. The qualifications are simple. But as far as experience with city government, I have to give that to Skip. He's got all the experience in the world as far as city government, library board. But I'm one of those people where after years of kind of like standing on the sidelines, I felt it was time for me to actually get into the game and do something. I served my country for 20 years. Now it's time to, like everybody's been saying, give back to my community. When I was growing up, I loved the fact that I lived in Sterling. I've talked about Sterling throughout the world. Every place I've ever been, I always brag about Sterling. You could like be in Japan and buy nails that were made in Sterling, you know, buy hardware that was made in Sterling or Rock Falls, you know, National Hardware. But the biggest thing is just, I'm aggressive. I don't take no for an answer. And it's one of those things where you never know what you're gonna get out of life unless you try or whether you ask. And it's just, instead of complaining about the way or the direction maybe the city's going or things that happen in town, it's time to do something about it. So I put my foot in the middle of it, and that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Next, we'll ask if there's any questions from the floor. Okay, then I will ask the next question. And this question is for all the candidates. Is there a disconnect between city government and local business communities? How can we remedy that if there is one? We'll start with Skip Lee.
Thank you. I think the word disconnect is probably a little bit strong. The fact that that question was submitted tells me that there is a concern. As an alderman, I've not had the opportunity to interact with businesses as many as I would like to. However, it is important to the city of Sterling that we interact with the business community. Mr. Schumart and his staff are constantly talking to the city businesses, to the agencies which represent them. My door will always be open. I'll be out. If you talk to my wife, Sue, she'll tell you that when we go to visit other towns, she heads to the craft store and I go downtown to the businesses and say, what's working? I will continue to do that here, and I look forward to working with the business community. Thank you.
Mark Batley.
One of the biggest things that I think the city's trying to do is they try to promote business, they try to attract businesses. But at the same time, to attract the businesses, you have to be willing to work with the businesses. And my getting around town talking to a lot of people, there's kind of a lot of concern about this signage bill or ordinance that's coming down the pipe. And I think that's one of the things that needs a kind of like a second look, because a lot of people seem to think that we've kind of overstepped our boundaries. I don't know, because I don't know the specifics. I just know that some of the aspects of the signage or the sign ordinance thing are troubling to me from what I've heard. But it's kind of like, it's like anything else in life, you know, if you want to be a good business partner or a good partner with business, you know, to be a friend, you have to be, you have to give friendship to get friendship. It's kind of like, you know, you have to build that working relationship. But I think the city's done an outstanding job of that over the years, and I think we'll continue to do the same thing. Thank you.
Retha Elston.
I'm Alderman of Ward 1, and there's a lot of businesses, retail, and restaurants in that area. And if there's any problems, they call me or email me. I go talk to them, and then I go talk to Scott Schumart and whoever else that I need to talk to and figure out if we could come up with a solution to their problems. But I don't think there's any disconnect with the businesses that I am aware of. If there is, I hope they do start calling all of us and letting us know what the problem is. Thank you.
Barry Cox.
I'm not sure what kind of disconnect there is, but I know that the business people need the support of the community, of the city. If those people need help, we should be there to help. Business is tough right now. I get around in a lot of the businesses in the community. I talk to the business people. Things aren't as hunky-dory as they used to be, but if those people need help, we better be there to help, because if we're not helping those business people, the tax dollars are going to lean more on the citizens, because the revenue that comes from those businesses is what helps pay our salaries, city employee salaries. That's a big thing in the city right there, is the tax dollars that come out of those businesses. If they need their help, if they need help, we better be there to help. Thank you.
Joe Martin.
Part of my 16 years experience on the council, I've had the privilege of serving on the Tobacco and Liquor Commission. And it seems in that instance that the only time we get to talk to the business people is when there's been a problem at the business. It's sort of a reaction instead of a proactive approach. I don't think there's a disconnect. I'd like to see the the city try to do more for the local businesses. And I think working with the Chamber of Commerce, I think you hear constantly, and I know the newspaper and the radio station try to do a great job of promoting shopping locally. And the city needs the citizens to shop locally. Sales tax revenue is one of our biggest sources of revenue. And if we're not doing enough to promote the local businesses, I think we have to work together with the local media and the Chamber of Commerce to do a better job. But in the 16 years, my only experience has been with the Tobacco and Liquor Commission, and it's always been a reactive type of situation. Maybe we should get a little more proactive.
Jim Alamo.
If the businesses feel they have a disconnect with the city, I think that's an excellent opportunity to open the lines of communication. That's why we're on the city council, one of the reasons. I do have a lot of experience in our Fire Prevention Bureau. We inspect every business in the city once a year, and we, by and large, we get a pretty good reception. They know that we're not there to be the heavy. No one wants their business to burn down. That would be horrible. But we need the retail. We need to shop locally. I shop locally. I tell others to. It's important, and I feel that there needs to be communication between the business leaders and the city. If there are problems, that's the only way that we're going to work them out. Thank you.
The next question will come from a student from Sterling High School. Again, please state your name and your question and who you are addressing the question to.
My name is Elizabeth Unterzuber. I'm a senior at Sterling High School, and my question for the mayoral candidates is, how can we bring businesses to Sterling, as well as keep the existing ones here?
Skip Lee.
Thank you for asking that. It's one of the things I found in this campaign has been the question about what do we do about jobs? How do we bring people to Sterling? We have to do that in a number of different ways. Number one, we have excellent agencies like the Chamber, Sterling Main Street, Sterling Today, GSDC, who are constantly combing the fields to find businesses. As mayor, I have to be a cheerleader for Sterling. I have to help guide the council to do what we can do to assist Scott Schumard when he talks to these businesses. So it's a matter of being visible, being active, having our financial infrastructure, all those types of things in order. As Alderman Cox mentioned also, the workforce availability is something that's very, very important. We need trained people with great work ethic to attract those businesses. Thank you.
Mark Batley.
One of the biggest things we need, that I think we need to do is something really simple that Mr. Schumard can help us with is I think what we need to do is like draft a letter and send one to every Fortune 500 company in America. Because you can't tell me, as we're all citizens of Sterling, that we're not centrally located, basically in the middle of the country. We have a workforce of 3,000 to 4,000 people who probably could use that job. And we have enough buildings in town that are available, ready to rent, ready to buy, whatever, to sell, that we can't get something started in here. It's like, we have a website that's being updated, and it's like, you can't tell me that we can't just spend, a couple, $300, send letters to every Fortune 500 company in America, and we can't attract some kind of interest. There's got to be somebody out there looking for a city like Sterling to relocate to. And it's like opening, everybody's been saying about keeping the open door policy with the mayor's office and city council and stuff. It's like, if there's problems with businesses in town, we can work it out. We can make life better for everybody. It's just a matter of communication, basically.
Are there any questions from the floor? Okay, then I will ask the next question. And this is a question for all the candidates. How do you think Sterling and Rock Falls governments can work more cooperatively on initiatives? We'll start with Skip Lee.
The first steps in working cooperatively have already been made because both of our communities have accepted the idea that we are not little insular areas isolated from the rest of the world. Rock Falls and Sterling regularly work together on issues. Mr. Schumard and the city administrator, Richard Downey, in Rock Falls meet frequently. Now, from that going to be more specific, I intend to, as mayor, reach out to Mayor Blanton. He is the senior mayor of the two cities. We can work together. I've spent a considerable amount of time of my life teaching in Rock Falls. I believe in reaching out. What helps Rock Falls helps us. What helps us helps Rock Falls. There's some city services we might look at combining. We have 4 fire protection districts. Basically, right now, we function as one. I think we need to look seriously at merging them into one central EMS. So we're going to reach out to everybody, and we can do more together. Thank you.
Mark Batley.
Basically, a lot of the services in town have, over the years, communicated with Rock Falls, and they have worked together in certain projects. Not so much maybe on a so-called professional level, but like kind of off to the sidelines, asking about problems with sewer, electrical, and stuff like that. And I think the biggest thing is like, you know, it's not like it's really Sterling and Rock Falls. It never really has been. It's always been the Rock River Valley. It's always been Sterling and Rock Falls. We're separated by, you know, 2 bridges and a river. I mean, you know, it's not a big deal, but it's like, as far as everybody's saying about services and stuff, it's like, you know, there's no reason why. Right now, every time Rock Falls has a fire, Sterling provides aid. Same thing, vice versa. They provide aid to us. There's no reason why we cannot combine what we have to make both communities a better place to live. You know, if we can't work together, then, you know, there's something seriously wrong in town.
Retha Elston.
There's many areas that we already are working together. We came up with the code enforcement. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Administrative hearing program with Rock Falls and Sterling to help with the code enforcement problems and try keeping that money here in Sterling and Rock Falls. I know our fire departments help each other out and give mutual aid, and they do their education together. The police departments respond and help one another when there's something serious that needs help with. I know the 2 mayors and Dixon mayor, they sit down and talk and try to figure out what's good for the Sauk Valley area. I think we're already opening up those doors and starting to work together. Thank you.
Barry Cox.
One of the big things that we've talked about tonight is jobs. And that's probably one of the big things that we need to do. And philosophy that I've always had, I've always said this, is what's good for Sterling is good for Rock Falls and Dixon. And what's good for Dixon is good for Sterling and Rock Falls. And what's good for Rock Falls is good for Sterling and Dixon. It needs to be a cooperative effort between the 3 communities, economic development wise. We seem to spend an awful lot of money on economic development. I stand to be corrected, but I know there's economic development person in Rock Falls, economic development person in Sterling, one at the county, one in Dixon, one in Lee County. And it always seems as though we got to all hide from each other, because if Dixon is looking at something, oh, we can't let Sterling or Rock Falls know. We need to work together, because these companies would rather come to an area of 50,000 people than a community of 20,000 people. And when you talk about a community area being, and I'm just throwing out 50,000 people, you're going to get more development also.
Joe Martin.
Whether people realize it or not, right now, Dixon, Rock Falls, and Sterling are marketing themselves as the I-88 corridor when they go to the various shows to solicit businesses. It's been frustrating for me as someone who's moved to Sterling Rock Falls that they could tear down the Berlin Wall, but the river seems to get wider all the time. It seems what happens at the junior tackle Sterling Rock Falls game has more bearing on how these two towns get along than how economically tough it's becoming for both of us to survive. I hope in the future that we continue to make the olive branch across the river to the people in Rock Falls, and they come across a little more, that we can both work together to make it so that it's 25,000 people screaming at our state legislators instead of just 10 and 15. Thank you.
Jim Allenbaugh. The question is, how do you think Sterling and Rock Falls governments can work more cooperatively on initiatives?
One way that I know that Sterling and Rock Falls have worked together is with the auto aid agreement. In times past, Sterling would have a fire and Rock Falls would sit in their station and listen to us fight it. Rock Falls would have a fire, Sterling would sit in their station and listen to them fight it. Quite frankly, we're about 20 years late in bringing that auto aid agreement together. I feel that Sterling and Rock Falls should be working together whenever possible. We are one community with a big boundary called the Rock River. As far as combining the fire departments, that could take, that's a very complex issue. That could take years. I would not want to see any level of service suffer by that combining. So, many challenges ahead, even on the Sterling side of the river, for their fire department. We're trying to cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time right now. But with the two cities working together, I think we can have a positive outcome for the citizens that we are sworn to protect.
Next, we'll have a question from a student from Sterling High School. Again, please state your name and your question and who you're directing your question.
My name is Terrion Gully. I am a senior at Sterling High School, and my question is for the mayoral candidates. Sorry. Well, I would like for the mayoral candidates to please complete the sentence. Sterling would be better if. Sterling would be better if.
Start with Skip Lee.
Sterling would be better if we understood and accepted the many great things we have in this community. With the recession of the last couple of years and sometimes the bad press that happens, it's easy for us to get into this doom and gloom, woe is me type of attitude. Sterling is a phenomenal place where things are happening. Look down by the river. It no longer has that burned out Berlin look. Those big buildings have come down. We are adding more businesses. We are reaching out more to the business community. We have a council, city staff, and mayor who all work well together and listen to each other. We have great people here. I too lived in California, though I have to admit I like their winters better than ours. But yes, our neighbors care about each other. So I think Sterling would be better if we began to accept how good we really are. Thank you.
Mark Batley.
I think Sterling would be better if we just accept the fact that, okay, the mill's gone, national manufacturing is closing, and a lot of the jobs have left the area. We need to like dust ourselves off, stand back up, stand tall and proud like we always have in the past, and kind of like look to the future. open our eyes to what's going on around us and what's available. We've grown up, we've all lived in a great small town in the middle of America. We have so much to offer. And life is short. It's like you can't like stand here and, like Skip just said, you can't stand here and cry about everything that's gone. Look around you. There's you got a whole high school full of kids that are like technologically advanced, more so than a lot of us older people, and they're connected to the world. There's a million ideas being generated by those kids every day. It's like they need to share those with us, and we need to share our ideas with them. And maybe just even everyday citizens walking downtown, some of the homeless people walking through town have ideas of how we can help develop our city and, kind of like bring it back up to the way it used to be. It's still a great place to live, great place to grow up, and a great place to be from.
This is a question for the mayoral candidates. How do you feel about home rule communities? And do you think Sterling should be one? Skip Lee.
Having the ability to be a homeroom community has great appeal to those of us in city government because it allows us a lot more freedom in regulating and setting our own destiny. Now, on the other side, it also allows us more freedom in taxing, which is something that taxpayers are very much afraid of. As I look at it right now, we are functioning well as a city. I don't see the need for home rule at this time.
Mark Batley.
I'll be perfectly honest, I don't really think I can add anything to exactly what Skip just said. It's like it's kind of like a well-functioning machine. A lot of people may be holding their breath, but I don't think we need to really change anything that's not broke. It's like, why fix it if it's not broke? It's like, I think we're functioning fine.
Okay, next we will have a question from a student from Sterling High School. Again, state your name and your question and who you're addressing your question to.
My name is Matt Dela Cruz. I'm a senior at Sterling High School, and my question for the mayoral candidates is, how important is education to you? What is your perspective regarding the effectiveness of public schools in Sterling?
Skip Lee.
Having spent 39 years of my life as an educator, I think that speaks pretty strongly to how I feel about education. We cannot attract businesses. We cannot have a future if we do not have an educated workforce, if we do not have educated people. Education, by the way, is not just a K-12 endeavor. We need to, as adults, continue learning about the outside world. As for our schools in Sterling, I had 3 children go through Sterling schools. They've been successful. I was very pleased with the quality of education they received. I think Sterling High School is doing a wonderful job. K through 12, Sterling is doing a great job. So it is important. We need parents to be more involved. We need students to understand it's important to them as well. Thank you.
Mark Batley.
It's an excellent question, but it kind of answers itself. Education is important. It's like the foundation for a successful life, for life in general. It's like I grew up, my dad was a high school science teacher for 33 years at Sterling High School. It's like when I was a kid growing up, we didn't have every toy known to man. We had a big bookcase full of books. You want something to do? There's a book, read a book. It's like education's been, nurtured in me ever since I was a kid. And it's like as adults, I was always taught by one of my former teachers years ago, if you don't learn something new every day, it's like you're sliding backwards, you're stagnating. I think our schools are doing an excellent job. I think we can get better. And it's like, Mr. Lee is a perfect example of the educational system in our area. He is the reason that my son, after graduating from Rock Falls High School, decided to go on to college, because Skip mentored my son was one of his teachers and inspired him to go on to greatness. But it's like the biggest reason in the world for the importance of education is when I go to County Market and the girl tells me your bill's like $20.49 and I hand her $30. I try to tell her my change is $9.51 and she looks at me like, that tells you right there, it's like education's important.
I will ask the next question. Questions for Jim Allenbaugh. If elected, do you intend to abstain from any votes that may have an impact on you personally? For example, as an alderman, you will need to vote on the city's budget, which directly impacts city employees, including fire and police. Will you abstain, or how will you handle such votes?
I realize that if I'm elected alderman 4th Ward, there are some issues that I would not be able to vote on. The approval of a collective bargaining agreement I would not be able to vote on, obviously. The budget, I feel that I would have no problem with that. You know, I would have to defer to the city attorney, Ron Copeland, because I feel he would be a good resource to avoid any conflict of interest. The budget and what else?
City's budget, which directly impacts you. That's all the two things, including police and fire.
No, I would have no problem being part of the budget process.
Okay, we'll have the next question from the student from Sterling High School.
My name is Terry Ungully. I'm a senior at Sterling High School, and my question for the mayoral candidates is, what is the most important responsibility being the mayor of Sterling?
Skip Lee.
The most important job for the mayor is to be visible. Thankfully, we have a city manager form of government which frees the mayor from having responsibility for day-to-day activities. So it's the job of the mayor to be visible, to be in contact so that there is no disconnect with the business community, to interact with the schools to let them know what we're hearing about workforce development. It's my job to be out there, as my opponent said, you know, writing some of those letters to the Fortune 500 companies. It's my job to be out there talking to you all, and to, more importantly, listening. You know, I go downtown and I've asked businesses for input. So I'm going to be very visible. I have lots of time after June 1, and I'm looking forward to that.
Mark Badley.
I think one of the most important things is to, as one of my former employers, a lady I used to work for, Barbara Bush, said, is to have that open door policy. If the city has, if somebody from the city has a problem, they can come to me. You know, walk in the door, make an appointment or whatever, come in and see me. If, as long as I'm there, I'm sure I'm not going to be that busy. I can't take time to talk to somebody. If you as a, member of the community have a problem, there's a phone number. If you're downtown, stop by, talk to me. If I don't have the answer right then and there, I'll find the answer for you. There's no reason why the door cannot be open at all times. It's like that's what we're there for. That's what you elect us for, is we're there to help you solve your problems. The door's open, and we'll leave the light on.
Question and who it's directed to.
My name is Rachel Adams, and I have a question for anybody who could respond here that's running. I'm sure that in the past, the city government or the city officials may have considered a public transportation system. And with the rate of unemployment in our community and the loss of jobs, the loss of automobiles or foreclosures on homes, cut in pay, and with the price of gas now also, is it something that you would consider in the future, possibly in the near future, to provide an affordable transit system for our community?
Prospect of public transportation has been discussed and is continuing to be discussed. You're exactly right. If the forecast holds that we're going to see $5 a gallon gasoline, we need to look at alternatives. Unfortunately, it's not as easy just buying Skipley a bus to go out and pick people up. We currently have, some through the senior center. We have some programs. I'm very much in favor of public transportation. It's green. It can be less expensive to our citizens, so it's a great question. Thank you.
Mark Batley.
It's an excellent question. I'm like everybody else. I don't know that it's something you can just like walk in the office tomorrow and turn on the switch and away it goes. But it's like, as far as looking into it, I've talked to some business owners in town, and I have interest in people that have asked me the same question for several different reasons. And it's like, I have interest as far as people willing to donate money, people willing to donate gas, people willing to donate different things. And whether I'm elected or not, that information will be shared with Skip and the city council, as far as like people who want to get involved, people who want to make a difference, because that's one of the things that hurts a lot of people in town, is they can get jobs, but they can't get to those jobs. Because when you can ride a bicycle in the good weather, but not the bad weather. And it's like, it's one of those things like Skip was saying, you have the senior citizen center that has a van, but the transportation is not always available to where you need to go at the time you need to do it. You can make an appointment ahead of time, but medical priorities take priority, and we understand that. So that's one of those things that, that will have to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed, and like Skip's saying, it's being addressed right now, and it's on the table. It's just a matter of when can we put that in motion. We don't know.
The senior center has a public transportation at this time. I know that it's probably not a well-known thing, and quite honestly, maybe we should be working with the Whiteside County Senior Center to better let the community know what they have to offer. I know that they give rides from certain places to, and I don't know the ins and outs of it, and I think maybe we all as council people ought to find out more of what the Whiteside County Senior Center is offering as far as the bus rates. But I know a phone call out there to them, Mrs. Adams, would probably give you some insight as to what is being offered. And but I know that, I don't know how many buses they're running nowadays, but I think they're running 5 or 6 buses throughout the county, from what I understand. So maybe we need to get that information and get it more out to the community, letting them know what's going on.
A form of mass transit would be great. I don't know where the money would come from. I have had the pleasure of using the Whiteside County Senior Bus for an ailing parent, and I've got to tell you, it's a blessing. With that wheelchair accessible bus to and from doctor visits, it's just, it's making his life a lot easier. It's a lot less stress on him. It's making our life easier. And with, with an aging population, everyone living longer, everyone needing more medical care, maybe this is something the city could explore with CGH Medical Center. They're a nonprofit hospital, and they need to put some of that money back into the community. That's all.
For all the candidates, in 2009 there was an increase to property taxes and another increase in 2010. Do you see that trend continuing as a way to balance the budget? Skip Lee.
I'd like to be able to stand before you and say, nope, there'll be no more tax increases. And the Easter Bunny is coming, and so is Santa Claus. I can tell you that the City Council debates strongly every time we have to raise taxes, especially in the economy we've had over the past few years. And don't forget, all of us in front of you today pay taxes as well. And I would like to keep more in my pocket. I can tell you that we study the tax increases, looking at what some of our obligations are coming down the road. I still see a property tax increase. We're working to minimize that. As sales tax goes up, Mr. Martin had a great point about shopping local. As gasoline taxes come back to us, that helps offset some of those things. We have some reserves that we've used to help minimize the tax increase. So I'm afraid the tax increases are probably part of our future for the next few years, but rest assured, we don't like it any more than you do, and we are doing everything we can to minimize that. Thank you.
Mark Batley.
I think that was a perfect example of honesty in government. It's like Skip didn't beat around the bush. He told you exactly what's going on and what's gone on in the past. But it's exactly like he said. He's being honest and open about it, and that's something that's probably going to happen. But it's like when I step into this job, I can guarantee it's like I'll go through the books, I'll turn everything upside down, I will look to find out where every nickel's going, because if there's any way that we can avoid that, we have to. Because otherwise, it's like we cannot embrace the community, you know, in the front door when we're pushing all, you know, the elderly out the back door because they can no longer afford to live in their homes. And that's what we're all trying to avoid. But it's like, you know, he's, like Skip said, he's being honest about it. It's like you can expect probably a tax increase, you know, property tax increase. It's not something that, you know, the board takes lightly as they're all sitting there shaking their head. They don't take it lightly and they don't like to do it, but sometimes it's the only avenue we have at the time. So that's one of those things where it's like, you know, I don't know, walk through town from one end to the other to see if I can find the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. But if that's the case and that's what has to be done, like Skip did, we're up front and honest about it. That's all we can do, you know, unless we can come up with the magical answer.
Rita Elston.
I don't like property taxes going up. But unlike the state, who is not paying their bills, the city of Sterling has to pay our bills. We have to fund our pensions. We can't just slough it off 5-6 months like the state of Illinois is doing, and we are required to pay our bills. So if that means increasing the taxes, believe you me, all of us debate on that. But if we just, we do gotta pay our bills, and sometimes that means increasing the taxes. Thank you.
Barry Cox.
Taxes get down to the grassroots, and the grassroots being business is where the majority of the tax dollars come to the community. We've talked about it. We pretty much beat it to death tonight. We've got to have a good workforce. We'll bring jobs to the community. Those jobs bring taxes to the community. And when those people are working and they have those jobs, it gives them disposable income. And you know, in a roundabout way, it comes back. Property taxes are tough. I use this phrase a lot. We've taxed the people, we've reached into their pockets, we've reached into their pockets, we've reached into their pockets, and we've got holes in their pockets now. And I hear from the people, it can't keep going, Barry. You know, we strongly look at these budgets each year. And, you know, sometimes I think maybe we gotta look a little more strongly.
30 seconds.
We just, you know, the people are getting tired of us clean out their billfolds. And it takes all of us to get together and get the better educated people and businesses going in the community.
Joe Martin.
With 70% of our city budget made up of personnel costs, I cannot and with personnel costs continually going up between raises, healthcare costs, and pension funding, you're probably going to see tax increases continue. If we don't do it now, we're going to have to do it in the future, especially with pension funding. We are mandated by the year 2042 to have 90% of our pensions funded. And because we're mandated for that, if we were to turn our backs on it, let it go, we're setting up the next generation and tying their hands that all the money will go to funding the pensions, especially if we don't see an increase in the investments coming back like the investments went down. 2 years ago, we were at 92% funded on our pension funding. Now we're at 76%, all from the stock market crash. And it's not coming back at 16% a year. So I don't like the tax increases. I understand the people don't like it, but until we see sales tax revenue come up, we see funding from the state come back up, that's our only source. Thank you.
Jim Allenbaugh.
Property taxes. The joys of home ownership. No, it's a disturbing trend. What else can we do? It's about the economy, you know. It's a trickle down. I have to echo what Retha said, you know. The state can push off billions to their creditors, but you know, the city strives to pay their bills and balance a budget. It's a disturbing trend. I know it doesn't work good for the school districts, funding them with property taxes. You have affluent districts and you have poor districts. But you know, I've always heard since growing up as a kid, there's two things in life that are inevitable. Taxes are one of them.
Are there any further questions from the Sterling High School students? No? Yes?
Yeah, there are, yes.
This is directed to the mayoral candidates. What qualifications will you bring to the position that your opponent will not?
The question for the mayoral candidates, what qualifications do you bring to the position that your opponent will not, to Skip Lee?
The number one thing I bring to the table that my opponent does not is the experience I have in governing, the experience I have in city government at a number of different levels. What that does is shorten the learning curve that I'm going to have as mayor, because I don't know everything that's going to happen as mayor. You know, Mayor Veering has been very kind to clue me in on some of those things. So because I have worked with city government, know how the process works, know what questions to ask and who I can go to get them answered, that will be in my favor.
Mark Batley.
I think Skip pretty much summed it up. The only thing that I'll bring that Skip cannot bring probably is more hair. But as far as experience, he's got it. You know, I was the first one to stand up here and admit to you and be honest about it. It's like I don't have experience on the library board. I've never been on the school board, and I haven't been on the city council. Like he said, the learning curve is a big thing. He's, you know, he knows the ins and outs, who to go to, and I'll be the one that'll be bugging everybody's ear. What about this? What about this? And I'll probably be a big pain in somebody's butt for a while. But, you know, I'm being honest. He has the experience, I don't. But it's, you know, maybe new blood, new attitude, new ideas. Maybe that'll, you know, maybe that's what the city needs. Who knows?
Are there any questions from the floor? There's another question. Yes. Can you please state your name and question and who it's directed to?
My name is Matt Dela Cruz, and this is for all the candidates. What are your opinions or thoughts about a student government, and that is like students helping out with the government, maybe having a say, or just learning about more by kind of sort of an internship maybe, but like kind of spending time around the government system and then just learning so they can develop stuff like that.
If I can repeat the question, or correct me if I'm wrong, the question is, what do you think about student participation in the Sterling city government in some fashion? Skip Lee.
Mr. Dela Cruz, did I pay you to ask that question? Because you hit on actually one of the passions I have, and one of the things I've talked about for years. Student government is more than planning homecoming. Student government is to learn how the government works. I think it'd be an outstanding idea to get young people, as we see here tonight, and I know you have colleagues who are interested in politics, to get involved. You know, all of us in the city council have only 2 ears, 2 eyes, and 2 legs. If we can involve students, you guys hear things. You know, as a teacher, I'm amazed when my students come back and some of the things they know that I hadn't heard about yet. So I would very much welcome the opportunity to work with Mr. Preston and the other government. Well, I don't know, is there another government teacher in Sterling? Are you the man?
I'm in.
You're the man. I would welcome the opportunity to work with Mr. Preston to integrate students more into our governmental process. I think it's a great idea.
Mark Batley.
I think that's an excellent proposition because it's a two-way street. It allows the students in the younger generation to open their eyes and actually learn what city government's all about, helps them to understand what's taught in government class, and at the same time, like Skip said, it gives us like another 1,000 eyes, ears, and, you know, ideas. You know, it's like we get feedback from you, and then you guys will give us feedback, and it's like, you know, it's like I said, it's a two-way street for communications, ideas, and it allows you the opportunity. It's kind of like we're training or teaching the next generation, not just in school, but in government. It's like we're, you know, if one of us decides to step down or retire and enjoy life, it's like we have somebody that's already knows the ins and outs and who to talk to and how to get things done. And it allows you the opportunity to maybe step into one of those positions at an early age where, you know, you can make, you know, effective, positive changes for the future. But it also helps us understand like your needs, and then it helps you understand our ideas and where we're coming from.
I'll ask the next question, and the question is for all the candidates. Would you consider selling CGH Medical Center to stabilize debt or for debt relief? Skip Lee.
No. CGH is a wonderful asset to our community, and it is a wonderful asset to us as a city in attracting businesses here. For us to sell CGH would be a very short-term bad decision, because corporations who don't have a base here don't have necessarily the interests of our people at heart. CGH does. They give literally millions of dollars in charity care every year. So no, as long as I have a breath in my body, CGH will be part of the city. Thank you.
Mark Batley.
CGH stands for Community General Hospital, and that's effectively what it is right now. If we would, you know, sell a hospital to some other company, basically all of the care, the concern, and the love we get from the hospital would belong to somebody else. And if they're 1,000 miles away, or, you know, in New Jersey or New York, or they're 2,000 miles away in California, do you think they really care about you, Karen, as a person? All they see is a number on a computer screen. They, you know, it's just another number, another statistic, another dollar. That's all they would see. Whereas the people that run the hospital, the people that work at the hospital, they know who we are, they know where we come from, they know what we're all about. And that's exactly what CGH has stood for years. I grew up just down the street, and it was always Community General Hospital. And I think, just like Skip said, I think that'd be the it might be a short-term answer, but I think it would have long-lasting effects that would be negative for a long time to come. I think that's why it's called CGH, Community General Hospital. I think that's the way it should stay.
Retha Elston.
CGH is and always will be part of Sterling. I cannot see someone living thousands of miles away being in charge of CGH. You see Ed Anderson out in the public. You see the board of directors out in the public. You watch them. They know what our needs are. I don't know how many years back they saw a need for cancer patients, and today we went to a ribbon cutting for the Cancer Treatment Center between Daryl Vandervoort and Ed Anderson. They saw there was a need in this community. If someone lived in New York or California, they wouldn't have saw that there was a need for cancer patients to be treated locally instead of driving 1 to 2 hours away. So, no, I want CGH to stay with the city.
Barry Cox.
I apologize, but I'm going to answer 2 questions while I'm up here. I'm going to answer Mr. Del Cruz's question. Also, I think it would be a wonderful thing for the students to be involved with us, whether it be a day you come in and I'd gladly take a day off to listen to what you have to say, because if we're not listening to the people of our community, and you're one of them, that's where we learn from. We learn from the people in our community. When I'm out walking, as I say, people talk to me, I'm learning from them what their opinion is. So, and you've got a great teacher there. My son went through the program not too long ago, and boy, I'll tell you what, he fired him up, and he became very opinionated in government. So, hat off to Mr. Preston. But CGH, no. I watch the news a lot. City of Chicago, they've sold everything they had. You know, I swear to God, I don't know what else they would sell, but if it was available, they'd sell it. And they spent that money, and they're in trouble now. And what would happen, I'm afraid what would happen, is we'd end up with a big pot of money, and that big pot of money would be gone fast, and when you got an asset like that, I'm strongly going to urge the rest of the council, and they've already said it, to keep that asset.
Joe Martin.
As far as CGH is concerned, I think the old adage, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And CGH is doing well on its own. It's financially independent of the city. And yet what it means as far as providing good, quality, caring care to the citizens of this community, I think it stands behind its mission statement and does an excellent job of it. I would not want to be burdened with the one-time influx of cash that we could get from the sale of the hospital and seeing it disintegrate in a matter of minutes. And then what is our next answer when the next crisis comes up? So no, CGH is not the answer in selling the hospital.
Jim Allenbaugh.
I'd like to answer both questions also. Mr. Dela Cruz, I know that Alderman Lee didn't pay you, but did Mr. Schumar pay you to ask that question? Just kidding. That's great. I think some form of student advisory, government council, whatever you want to call it, it would be very exciting for you to, be that close to city government, see how it works. Sure, we're elected by the voters, but we represent everyone. Students, everyone alike. My job on the fire department. If there's an emergency, we don't ask someone if they're a resident of Sterling. We help them. That's what we do. That would be wonderful. Thank you for that question. Well, it's unanimous. First of all, I'm kind of embarrassed. I didn't know that we could sell, that would be possible to sell CGH Medical Center. I think that would be wrong on so many levels. It's an asset. 30 seconds. not just financially, economically. You know, it's one of our largest employers. I mean, it is a community hospital. Us baby boomers, we're all getting older, we're living longer. Modern science is making all sorts of wonderful breakthroughs, you know, for us to live longer. Yeah, very bad idea to sell CGH. Thank you.
Next, I'll ask for all the candidates, what's your philosophy on economic development? Skip Lee.
That's also easy. I believe in it. Now, if I knew all the answers about economic development, I wouldn't be here tonight. I'd be running a great consulting firm somewhere in New York or Los Angeles, making big bucks. But what little I do know about economic development is this. You find the people who know what is good for the community, who have the talents. Chamber of Commerce is a great organization. Sterling Today, Sterling Main Street, GSDC. You get people who have expertise, and then you do what you can do to help them do their jobs. You go to your strengths. You know, we are in an ideal place in northwestern Illinois to a lot of big communities. We identify the visions, and we would go for that. But we have good people work on economic development. It's probably one of the most talked about things at City Council, and we will continue to do that. Thank you.
Mark Batley.
Economic development is a hot topic. I feel that in town, you know, in the city of Sterling, we have the people, we have the resources, and like Skip said, and like I've said all night long, we are centrally located in the middle of the country. We have rail service, we have intermodals, we have the interstates. It's like we have everything we need to make this a win-win situation. It's just a matter of finding the right people, asking maybe the right question, or shaking the right tree to see what fruit falls out. It's just a matter of time before somebody, maybe one of the high school students, comes up with the answer to our needs. But it's like it's something that we work on every day. You know, we have the agencies in town that help, you know, guide us, help give us ideas. And we're just doing everything we possibly can, and it's, you know, it's kind of like it's an all-out war, you know, and everybody in town is part of the team. It's just a matter of, you know, like the next great idea is what we're looking for. You know, maybe the answer to our dreams is just around the corner.
Retha Elston.
Economic development. I think we have very good people. Heather Sotelo, the incubator out by Westwood, Scott Schumard, lots of people that have very innovative ideas to bring retail and businesses here. I wish we could bring manufacturing here, but I think that's a thing in the past right at the moment until something changes nationwide. But we have good resources here. The City Council, we try our best to use these resources and think of ideas on how to bring retail and businesses and restaurants to Sterling. Thank you.
Barry Cox.
Economic development, we've talked a lot about that tonight, and you know, go back to the workforce, but one of the things that we have to do, you know, we all want to go out there and land that 400 or 500 jobs coming to our communities, whether it be Sterling, Rock Falls, or Dixon. And those aren't realities anymore. We get somebody come to the area that brings 10 jobs, hey, that's a plus. You know, we get 5 companies come to town with 10 jobs, that's 50 jobs. And it multiplies. You know, we always can't look for the big hit. We gotta be out there, we gotta let people know we're here. And that's what our economic people are doing. But the big thing is, we've got to have a workforce. We're dependent on you guys to go through school, help the others, and get us a good workforce here. That's a big thing, but we can't go for the big hits. We got to just keep reaching out there and a little bit at a time, and it'll make it happen.
Joe Martin.
I agree that both the little business as well as the big businesses are important. But the biggest thing is financing also. I think Sterling has done an excellent job of seizing any opportunity that was available, like brownfield grants to reduce Northwestern Steel and Wire when it closed, and brought Sterling Steel to us. The downtown riverfront development with the grants that we secured to clean that property, it's ready for development. Now we just have to find the right person or business to put into it. Kohl's with the recovery zone bonds. We seized an opportunity, we brought a Kohl's store here. So I think we'll remain aggressive as far as looking for financing opportunities and grants, and at the same time be aggressive as far as trying to sell the community. It looks like something's going on here, and that in itself makes an excellent impression to people that are looking for places to develop a business. Thank you.
Jim Allenbaugh.
I think all the speakers had excellent things to say about economic development. My philosophy is on economic development that we can't live without it. I mean, if we're not moving forward, we're moving backwards. We have a resource here, much like if you had financial resources, you would go to an expert. Our economic development people are the experts. They have their eye on the ball every day, searching for opportunities for us to develop our local economy. We need those dollars. To keep raising property taxes every year is it's not a good trend. It's not a good way to balance the budget. So with economic development, that's how I think that we can bring in a lot of money that isn't coming out of the taxpayer's pocket directly.
This is for all who want to answer, I suppose. What is, and it kind of sounds redundant, but believe me, I feel it's important, but what is your view on like youth development and how would you improve it? And let me also say that there was a survey, I believe, that 17% of youth is not connected to the community, and so what could you do, or how could that be improved, or what are your opinions on it?
So many people who look like me, and I don't mind getting older. It's kind of good. It beats the alternative. But the serious answer to your question is, we need to, as a city, be more open. City government is more than just coming to fulfill the meetings requirement that Mr. Preston gives you. We need to be open to you. We also need to be more visible. I would gladly come to Sterling High School and speak with you all and get your ideas. I know Amy Varing and members of this council have talked to various community youth groups, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, about what's involved in city government. We have to find some way to ignite a passion for involvement that hasn't been there traditionally. We've started to see it. If you look at voter trends, you're seeing more young people getting involved. It's a great idea. Thank you.
Mark Batley.
It's like the youth of today are the leaders of tomorrow. That's something that's paraphrased probably every day in somebody's speech. The youth of today are leaders of tomorrow. And like Skip's saying, and like we've already addressed, it's like getting you active in local government. Number one, it helps make your class work easier because you maybe more understand what's going on in the upper government levels. but you understand what's going on in your community. And also, it gives us, a platform for interaction as far as, like I've been saying all night. You talk to us, we talk to you. It helps you understand kind of like where the old people are coming from, our ideas. It helps you understand, what we want out of life. And at the same time, it gives you guys a chance to tell us kind of like what's important to you. What do you need to keep you involved, and how we can, as a community, help make you productive citizens and better members of society. Because it's like, if we don't pay attention to you, then you guys end up in trouble. And it's kind of like we have an award-winning park district, there's different communities around the country that have modeled their park districts at what we've grown up with, what we've had for years. And it's kind of like we keep saying, if you guys are involved, maybe we'll find the answers to some of our questions, and maybe we can solve some of your problems at the same time.
Retha Elston.
Adults getting involved with children, with adults, young adults, high school kids. My family's big into scouting and volunteering at the schools. Assets, blind, GPA, letting the students see you involved in school. I would go in and help with elementary school, help kids learn their ABCs, how to multiply, just to be present, to talk to them, to listen is the biggest thing with students. Helping that young man get his Eagle, helping that young lady get her gold award. Just being present, helping, volunteering, doing community service, letting the kids see you out there doing community service and not expecting nothing in return. That's my view on that.
Barry Cox.
Youth development. Youth development started with me a long time ago. I was involved in Sterling Youth Baseball, coaching the kids, trying to be positive, patting them on the back, way to go. And through the football program, started out in flag football, junior tackle. Kids went through many sporting events up at Sterling High School. And as a father, and my wife as a mother, we were always in the crowd, coaching them on, coaching the other kids on. And so youth development is something that's been very important to me for many, many years. And it's sort of funny now. I have some of those kids come up to me, hey coach, remember when we, and I'll tell you what, it just tickles my heart because I touched someone. I made them think. And hopefully they'll take what they learned from me back in those years and pass it on to another youth. So it's very important to me.
Joe Martin.
I'd like to ask a question of the 4 students. How many of you knew that we have a downtown city cleanup every year? The blank look on the faces. Obviously, we have not done a good enough job of letting you know how you can play a role in helping the city of Sterling and getting involved. So to you, I stand here and apologize, and I promise that we'll try to make a better effort in the future to involve not only you, but also the other students at the high school, as well as other youth in the community. I think by us working together, maybe you give your time and talents to that. Maybe we can give back something to the school that excites you guys. And so maybe we can work together in partnership. So again, I apologize to you, and we'll try to get you more involved next time. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the floor?
All of the candidates for coming out this evening and taking the time to answer the questions that were both submitted to the chamber by the students here tonight and those of you that asked a few questions from the floor. So if you please help me thank them for the time that they gave tonight. again, thank you to Mr. Preston's class, to you, the students, for coming. We look forward to working with you more in the future. Our office, for those of you that don't know, is located across from Kelly's at 211 Locust Street, and we are always open, as is the city, if you have additional questions. We'd like to thank the radio for their support tonight, as well as the newspaper for being here. And for anybody that still has questions, I'm certain that the candidates will be here afterwards for a few minutes if you have questions. And with that, our evening has ended. Thank you for attending.